It is so amazing what a week being on the bye can do. I am so freaking organized this week. Yes,
Buy or bike?
bye.
I thought you said bike.
No, bye week.
I generally thought you said bike. Just what the hell are you doing on a bike?
Well, I do have one of them,
Mm.
and that's something for a New Year's resolution thing.
Oh,
Perhaps.
very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
why not? Why not? Why not? But yes, it is Thursday. It is 9 UK Cowboys time. Lorne's gone. I'm sure he's going to come back. But yes, it's the pregame show for this week's game for the Green Bay Packers. Yes, quite interesting matchup, this one. Lorne's coming back in. Now, one of the things, right, that I always start the show off doing is always go, what's your thoughts and feelings on this week's game? I'm going to bypass that this week. And I'm going to go, what's your thoughts and feelings on the idea of Odell Beckham Jr. coming to the Cowboys?
I'm in favor of it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as the money's right and it doesn't hit us, and how would I say it? Doesn't damage us in terms of draft, like no draft cap, salary cap, then I'm all for it. Like, he'll definitely add more depth and whatever or not to the team and that, whether or not like his skill set can definitely help maybe rise up to the occasion for the other wide receivers as well. We kind of saw that way when he went to the Rams. He helped elevated Cooper Kupp to really take that like larger stride, and he did play like a receiver number 2 when he was there. So, but yeah, I'm fully in favor of it. I mean, needless to say, like I'm not against the idea of Brandon Cooks as well. I know there's still rumors about that potentially. So I'm down for one or the other. But do we really need them? You could say maybe, but adding them just adds more fire to the funness. So
yeah, Lorne?
Yeah. I mean, I think, he seems to have matured. He's not the same petulant guy that he was that caused the Giants to get rid of him. But the only thing is he's talking about wanting a 2 or 3 year deal. Now, at the same time, as we know, we've got a lot of decisions to be making in the next couple of years, particularly next year when you got guys like Terrence Steele coming up. There's a hell of a lot on the salary cap. Plus, is he going to do much this year? There's seems to be up in the air as to when he's going to be ready to go. Just this weekend, I think it was Jay Glazer was saying it was going to be early November, and then Rappaport is now saying it's going to be mid-December or something like that. So there's conflicting arguments as to when he's going to be ready. Yeah, it'd be great to have him ready for the playoffs or whatever. If providing we don't drop off the side of a mountain or whatever. But I'm in favor of it if it's a good deal for us and it's not going to put us against cap hell.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the big thing at the moment, because he's still available, and a lot of people talking about let's get him in and everything else. But here's the trouble: he's a 30-year-old coming in who hasn't played in a year and has 2 ACL injuries, and I think
on the same knee as well.
Yes, and that's what's slowing the process down. And I think because you think there's not just the Cowboys, there are other teams that are going to be interested that have available cap space and that will need him on their roster. Nobody else has.
Yep.
It is funny though, because here's the ticks in the boxes. I don't know if you heard what Odell said. Is he turned around and at the moment he's living in North Texas. That's where his family live. And he turned around and he said, if I was going to go to any team, I want it to be somewhere close to home. You're like, okay. On 6 wins. And you're like, okay. And need a wide receiver. And you're going, okay, so basically you're saying you want to play for Dallas.
Yep.
Yeah, but without actually mentioning the name. Yeah. It's like, I feel like you're in court trying to evade the question, but you actually are answering the question in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You know, and I get what some people are saying. They're all like, or is this just another ploy? So it raises his price because obviously, as soon as you say Dallas Cowboys, it puts an extra digit onto your contract.
Yeah, we saw that time and time again, especially when
We
it comes
do.
to the draft. Especially when it comes
Yeah,
to the draft.
Yeah.
it does
I,
happen.
I mean, the other one that he's been linked with is obviously Kansas City. Now, Kansas City's probably just as close. You know, what is it? 6 hour drive from Dallas to Kansas City, I think. So, you know, you could almost say they're certainly 6 wins or above. They're needing, you know, they're always keen to stack wide receivers as well. So for that offense, so you know, potentially he is keeping his options open. But yeah,
Yeah.
obviously the closest to home is probably Dallas.
I think for likes of Beckham though, and here's my theory on this, right? He
Mm.
knows he's in a tough situation as well when it comes to negotiating with money because of the ACL injury. But with his name alone does bring marketing value. So he can earn more money being in the marketing side of things outside of football, being a Dallas Cowboy fan from endorsements and whatever and that. He can still like he'll probably get a lot more endorsements than he ever did than he did at Cleveland and he did at New York and even LA, just because
Yeah,
it's the Dallas Cowboys. So there's that perspective on it. That could be one of the leverage points Jerry might throw in. It's just like we might not be able to give you your salary that you're demanding. We're in the low ballpark here, but you can. But if you were to say was, here's all these different companies will want to endorse you, and they can pay you for advertisements. It's extra work, yeah, but at least you'll be getting that money in a more higher up scale. So there is that perspective.
yeah,
Yeah,
Not many people talk about that. Really,
yeah. Playing in Texas as well. Texas,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. You know
Like,
the money.
like he can always ask for like I don't know if it's possible in the NFL, but he might ask for a cut in terms of jersey revenue and stuff like that, merchandise or whatever and that. So he either way, if he does sign for his the marketing wise will be off the
Oh
chain
no,
for
yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, the other issue you've got with OBJ coming to Dallas is if you think about it, is he going to be happy being a wide receiver 3 when we know what he's like character wise? Because he is. He's going to be behind CD Lamb and he's going to be behind Gallup. He
I don't
is.
know. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
he
I
will.
don't know. I don't know. I really don't
Mm.
know. Like behind Gallup, I 6.5 a dozen.
Because you think about
I
it, think of the connection those pair
Yeah,
have.
I get that. I get that. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like he'll be wanted to win and obviously compete, but it's a hard one, mate. It's a hard. I think it's a bit unfair saying he's going in there as a number 3. Like he may have good intentions to be a number 2, or even try and play like a number 1. You might have the best intentions. That's down to Kellen Moore's decision. End of the day.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I reckon you go to almost what we had with Amari in that you have the
Yep.
one
There
A,
we
one
go.
B,
Yep.
one
I'm out.
C. So
Yeah.
you got 3 potential number 1 receivers, albeit at the moment the performance hasn't shown that. You know, is he going to be a progress stopper for, you know, Gallup's on a 5-year deal. You got CD Lamb potentially for another 2 or 3 years after this before you sign him to another deal as well.
I've-
You know,
Here's one for you, Lauren. I think if we were to sign Beckham, right, that might actually lower the expectations of a cheaper contract with Lamb potentially. When you think about it, like
Mm.
if Lamb's not getting the ball as much as well, like in terms of the shared distribution to your wide receivers, then there's a chance where you can actually maybe like if the stats are going down because of the distribution and what from Kellen Moore's offense, then in terms of money that can go down as well. So there's that potential as you can think about. It's like I know I'm maybe reaching in terms of that point of view, but it's worth noting, you know.
It is, but then at the same time, conversely, you could have, CD Lamb's numbers are going down. He and his agent aren't happy with the amount of plays he's getting in the games, and he then decides that it's going to be better to have a fresh start. So don't do an extension with Dallas. Wait, play out 5 years or whatever, and then hit the market and either take a 1 year prove it deal and then come back and hit pay dirt. So
Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is. Like either way, I think we're all in agreement. We would love to have Odell Beckham in the team as long as it's team friendly in terms of finances and can we actually utilize him on the field properly. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, because they are, and I wrote it this week as well that something that the Cowboys need to learn from last year is that they lacked when they got to the end of the season. When you think of the injuries and the parts that were missing, we were just lacking a full roster going into the postseason. So why not learn from that? And I know it could be at the detriment of other players' contracts. Donovan Wilson's one that you're gonna have to look at too.
Mm-hmm.
There's players like this. So do you win today and worry about tomorrow another day? Is what we're going for, really, isn't it?
Well, here's the question right now with regards to our wide receivers, and thanks for DJ Dog, one of our regular viewers. Do we pick up the fifth option for CD Lamb?
Yeah,
I think we will. I think we're going. I think we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to in terms of like how things are kind of panning out right now. So I think that's the case. I don't think we're going to be lucky in what we did for Leighton Vander Esch in terms of getting him on a cheaper contract, but by not renewing him.
Yeah, Vander Esch is slightly different.
That was
injuries.
Yeah, that was a fluke, to be honest, and I really was a fluke. So, Joe's saying I agree with you all, especially knowing Jerry. He really doesn't want to pay in the big contracts. Yeah, like Jerry's been stung too many times back in the past when he's overpaid for players and it just never delivered. So I don't blame Jerry. I don't blame Steven. Like if they don't pull the trigger, like if there's one thing we have been critical is like they haven't made the big moves in players like Von Miller, who has been producing for the Bills, unfortunately. It's not every contract is always going to be a pure like I'm giving you all this money, go perform. It's never always going to be the case. You will get ones that will rise up to the occasion, some don't. And I think Jerry's just being very conservative on that matter, and I don't blame him, to be fair. I don't blame him.
I mean, I can see it as well.
Sorry, Don.
I can see it if this was a similar situation to Charles Haley, where literally we were one player away.
Yeah.
And that player was worth it to give up both the money and the draft capital. So similarly, Dion, obviously, the difference between us and the 49ers in 1994 was Dion, and then we went out, and as soon as Dion became available, we went and signed Dion, and we went back to the Super Bowl. Jerry is willing to spend that, but look at the Rams this year. Rams went all in last year, and they've fallen off a cliff this year, and they're potentially looking at, if they don't win this weekend, they're going to be out of the playoffs. Albeit their division is particularly poor at the moment. They're all clustered together, so there's no forerunner from that division at all.
Yes. Yeah, well, let's get into the news and updates, and we'll look into this week's game, shall we, guys?
Let's do it.
Yep, let's rock. All right. Now, if you haven't read the Green Bay Packers practice report,
it's bad. It's really bad. Oh my goodness!
Make yourself a drink because you're going to be reading for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, like honestly, folks, when I saw the injury report, I was like, "Wow!"
Even Aaron Rodgers is on there.
Like I'm genuinely surprised. It's nearly the whole 53-man roster. It's pretty much. Like, it's like, do you even have a team to actually bring out on Sunday? Like, don't get me wrong, it's going to do us in favor for us on Sunday, but we cannot let that slide. We still need to go out there and perform and put the game towards the Packers at Lambeau Field, which we've not managed to do. What was it the past 2 visits? We've not. I don't know.
Dak's rookie year.
Yeah. Well, and we've also lost the playoff game as well, the Des Carrot game as well. That was back in 2014. So
that's the same year, yeah.
No, it's not.
No. That was the year before. Yeah.
2 years before
2014. Yeah.
So, but DJ Dogs just mentioned Rashad Gary's out for the year. Yeah. So that's going to be good for our run game, especially. I think
Eric Stokes might be out too. He's struggling with an injury. So they have a lot of bad parts. An interesting one that came up, Mason Crosby with a back injury. As Cowboys fans with kickers and back injuries, we know that feeling.
Oh yeah.
So some
not just that, mate. Mason Crosby has always been a kryptonite against us as well.
Yeah. Well, him and Aaron Rodgers, but yeah. So it is interesting to see what is going on. I've got the list here. The other one that I found quite interesting was Chris Barnes, linebacker. He's on concussion protocol. So was Christian Watson, but he's actually playing. So I'm assuming he's past whatever it is. Aaron Rodgers was right thumb, so I don't know. The other
you actually saw last week in the game against Detroit that some of his passes just whether he's got a similar situation to Dak Prescott's thumb or whatever, and he's trying to play through it or not.
Are off, isn't they?
Mechanics are off. A lot of the passes in the end zone were wounded ducks, and I mean, you saw them. They moved the ball down the field on that first drive against the Lions. They moved down the field, and the Lions must have been thinking, "Christ, this is going to be one of those days where they're going to put up a 50 burger on us." And then they get into the red zone, and Aaron Rodgers throws a pick. And then he comes back and throws another pick, and then he comes back and throws 3 picks. I mean, he's never thrown 3 red zone picks.
But the third pick was the worst.
Yeah,
the third one was the worst.
But here's a question: did Aaron Rodgers did he actually blame any other than himself this time?
No. Here's an interesting one. Everyone's seen the video of him slamming the phone down on the sideline, but one that people have seen less of is after the second pick, Sammy Watkins, who, by the way, may not play this week either. So that's 2 wide receivers because Romeo Doubs is in doubt as well. Aaron Jones is in doubt as well with an ankle. He was leaving on crutches. So that's not looking very promising because
he's a cowboy killer. He's a cowboy killer. How many times has he come in and run for 4 touchdowns? Or
he's got the speed.
That 2015 year, I think, 2015 or 2016 year. That was
16.
Yeah,
because he's got the speed. That's the trouble, and we'll get onto it when we talk about the Cowboys' defense. So that was quite interesting. For the Cowboys, though, Anthony Barr is the only one that's looking like he's not going to be playing this week. He still hasn't played. A practice report today says he didn't participate. Donovan Wilson, I love this one. He's on the practice report with tooth.
Yep. So he'll have toothache or something like that. And it's just a case. Get to the
I just love seeing it. You see tooth, and you're like, okay.
There could be another reason for that. He had a hospital a dentist appointment at that time during training. We don't know. For all we know.
Well, that's what's on it. But Jake Ferguson is on there today with an illness. tight end is going to be very important in this game, which we will get.
Absolutely. Yep.
Attack in the middle of that field is going to be quite important. So, yes, that is it on the update so far. Obviously, there's still the OBJ news floating around in there. So we will wait and see. But the only other news I wanted to add is Mike McCarthy going up against Green Bay, his old team. An interesting statistic, because you know what I'm like, Paul. You know I like the statistics.
Oh yeah.
That if he beats Green Bay this weekend, he will be one of 8 coaches to have beaten all 32 teams as a head coach.
Oh, very interesting. There's an article for you right there, mate.
I've done mine for the week.
But that's quite an interesting one. But I'm not actually that like the whole thing about McCarthy going to Green Bay. That's just smoke in the water. That to me, like I just want Dallas just to go down there and just lay into them, hit them while they're already down, because they've done it to us for the past multiple games in recent history. It's about time we delivered something back to them.
Yeah, and this is a good time to do it.
Absolutely, especially how Rodgers is playing right now. He is definitely
he's checked out. He's checked out.
He's checked out big time. Like I would say that the moment he checked out was when he was in London.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
That last minute play. It was like watching Russell Wilson throwing it against the New England Patriots all over again.
Yeah,
it really was.
Very reminiscent,
and it was really bad. Really bad.
This is how checked out he is, right? And I know we'll talk about it more on the defense side.
It's on the Alaska, whatever it's called.
Yeah, well, he throws the second interception. He's sitting down on his own, first of all. Okay. Sammy Watkins comes over to talk to him. Aaron Rodgers, as Sammy Watkins is talking to him, Aaron Rodgers stands up and walks off.
Honestly,
he's checked out. He's done. That's it.
Here's a question. Would we might actually get to see Jordan Love get on the field this game?
I think they got their bye week coming up in a few weeks. If it's as bad as this by the bye week, I can see post-bye Jordan Love comes in then.
Yeah, because I think he's now learned enough. Well, I'm not. I've got some friends that Packers fans. They're now in that version. It's like, okay, we've had Jordan Love under Rodgers' realm as a backup for X amount of years now. Is it now time to kind of let him take the reign, essentially?
And the next 3 games...
I think you do, because obviously he's coming up for his 3rd year. You've then got to make the decision that, have you seen enough to warrant his 5th year contract option? And then, Aaron Rodgers is, albeit, potentially he has to stay on the roster, because unless he retires,
that's the only way.
They're going to be in salary cap hell, because it's something stupid. And I mean, this is all his own doing, because, as much as Brady is faltering, Brady has always put the team first, and he is taking pay cuts after pay cuts.
And that's a team player,
Yeah, and I mean, I was watching that. I watched that game on Sunday night, and you just had that feeling that Brady was going to come back and win that game, and you could just see it that he was staying patient with everybody. Yeah, he was venting his frustration when he went to the sideline a little bit, but he was keeping it out of the way of everybody else. He wasn't getting in everybody's faces like Aaron Rodgers is. But at the same time, Aaron Rodgers, all this, I'm going to retire. No, I'm not going to retire. And then
he says that nearly.
He
says that nearly every week on the Pat McAfee show. He's like, I'm thinking about retiring. Maybe not. I'm going to smoke some Alaska, whatever.
Use another one. You're talking about that. Like, he's on there rather than being a leader and like going, like, I'm to blame. He's talking and he's like going, I think there's players that deserve to have less reps, less time on the field, and you're just like, whoa, now this is like crazy. And it's true that Aaron Rodgers has, when this is their game, that their season effectively is done. They're on a 5-game losing streak. If they beat the Cowboys, that for Green Bay Packers fans, that's a bonus, But here's the crazy part: is they could lose you, right? Their next 3 games as well is the Cowboys, so that's going to be a hard game for them. Then they got the Titans, and then they got the Eagles.
Yep.
Hopefully, they might do us a favor when it's a different quarterback for Green Bay that might be starting. They might actually pull one off on the Eagles. So hopefully,
I don't see it the way they're playing. No, you think about
but
it.
Here's the thing. Like, so Dave Hellman made a really good point in this today, actually, on Speak. It's like, yes, the Eagles might be 8-0, but who have they really actually?
It is true. It is true.
Like,
they've
true. Not really proved that they're not really proving themselves to be this 8-0 team, like this juggernaut of a team that.
Like, look at the Steelers the other year.
Yeah, or like if you were to put them up against Kansas City or Buffalo, your chances are you're going to see the Eagles lose. High chance of that. The way how
they're not better than the Cowboys for starters.
Yeah. Even though we lost, we can make up any excuse in the world because we had a backup or whatever. Not, but end of the day, fair play, Eagles, they won that game. Fair enough, but. Is it a convincing win? No. Is it a convincing 8-0 team? No. Are they on their high horse? Absolutely. Are they on drugs?
Against Houston.
Are they on drugs? Yeah. Yes, they are. So,
I mean, the Houston game will tell you all you need to know. Just watch the Eagles versus Houston, and you go, "Wow, which team is supposed to be the better team? Yeah, who's the one that's like the best, and which one's the worst?" And you'll struggle to find
that was with Brandon Cooks. That was with him. Houston had
that's right. He was
opposite, and it wasn't for injury reasons. It was for personal reasons as well. It was because of the whole trade deadline scenario. He was just not happy. Didn't want to be part of the team that night. But even with your star wide receiver, Houston were still amongst the game. They were still in it. It's like so for this 8-0 team that everyone keeps raving about. Well, not everyone. I'm talking about the Smeagol's or whatever you want to call them, the Dirty Birds, keep raving about it. It's like, oh yeah, everyone keeps talking about us. The only reason we're talking to you is because you're just absolute idiots. So shut up. Sorry, right, I'm scared going up on a rant here. I do apologize.
Let's get to the Cowboys offense. We're half hour in. Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, we're into it. So here's a good question for you guys, right? And I'm going to do it this way, just to look at the Cowboys offense. At this stage last year, we're on the same record, right? But let's go through. Based on performance, is Dak Prescott doing better at this stage this year than he was last year?
Hard to say because he's not played. Really, like
based on what you've seen.
Well, based on his last game, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's another one. Running backs. So this is Zeke and Tony together. Are they playing better at this stage now, this year, than they were last year?
I think it's still the same.
Yeah,
I think better. Because Zeke had that PCL too.
Yeah, now Zeke's got an MCL sprain, and we don't know if, there is question, do you play him this weekend? Obviously he didn't practice or was limited yesterday in practice. Is he going to ramp it up towards the weekend, or do you give him another week because obviously you're going up against they're 7-1 at the moment. You're going up against the Vikings next week,
But I would say they're playing better than last year, the running backs.
I mean, it's 6.5 a dozen. I definitely think we've known that we're starting to get that continuity, that identity within the offensive line now, which I think is the biggest step up from last year under Joe Philbin's tenure as offensive lineman coach. This season has been an improvement. Don't get me wrong, it's been a wee shaky start, but up till now, it's been like Terrence Steele has been fantastic. Bayadish is giving up 0 sacks in terms of according to PFF. So, like, I mean, if anything, a lot of credit is down to the O-line as well. Like, if it wasn't for them opening up those gaps and stuff like that, like, and that was one of our biggest worries. But in terms of the running backs, I mean, it's 6.5 a dozen. Like, I would slightly just nudge it better than last year, but not by much, if that makes sense.
I would say it is because of the way Tony's playing. That's what I'm going for.
I mean, Tony had some good games last year as well, and I mean, in terms of health wise, I think we're in a better state than last year.
Yes, that's the big one. Yeah.
I think the emphasis of the offense this year has changed to be, primarily run first, particularly in the period where Cooper Rush was playing. It was establish the run and then let Cooper go with the play action passes. And then Dak came in, and Dak hasn't rocked the boat. He's stuck with the game plan. He hasn't, as I've said, he hasn't come to a line and gone kill, kill, kill just about every single play. So he's actually running Cooper.
That's a t-shirt, that.
Yeah. But here's the next one. Wide receiver call. This is pretty easy. Are they better at this stage this year, or were they better at this stage last year?
Last year.
Yeah, easy.
Last year.
Yeah, Cooper. Tight end, though.
Better. Much
Easily.
better.
Way different.
Different.
But here's a more of a trickier one, and you guys, I'm going to leave you to answer. What about the offensive line?
I'm going to say better.
I'm going to say better as well. I mean,
too.
By this point last year, you'd subbed Connor Williams out for Connor McGovern. That you played in 3-4 games, and then you subbed Connor Williams back in because you weren't getting the running game there. And great, McGovern wasn't giving up the penalties that Williams was, but you just weren't getting anything going. And McGovern was weak. McGovern has taken a step forward this year in everything he's done.
His run blocking has come on really well.
Yeah. And I mean, even he's not been a major liability in his pass protection either this year, I don't think.
No, it's just been moments where he's been caught out, I would say. When it comes to McGovern, like looking back at the film and that, like I think obviously with the Rams game in particular, that was kind of more of a, you're going up against Aaron Donald, you kind of expect that.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been Washington was a bit of a surprise. I thought he wasn't well performed against Washington because what's the name? Is it Darren Payne? Darren Payne, the nose tackle for Washington.
Yeah,
he was quite effective against McGovern in that game, I thought. So, but other than all, like you're saying there, Lauren, I thought his run blocking has been really, really solid.
Yeah.
And don't forget, think about the other side of the ball with Terrence Steele. Like last year, we had the whole issue with Lyle Collins, with the whole outside of football stuff, then getting suspended and coming back in again, and he just wasn't playing up to scratch. It's like we should actually be playing Steele ahead of Collins. Now Collins is gone, so I think in hindsight, it looked bad at the start of the season. Yeah, we drafted a new left guard, left tackle, and Tyler Smith, but over and all, how things have kind of shaped up, we're in a much better state than we were last year. And now that Tyron Smith is coming back, and we've got Jason Peters there, like we're actually in a bit more. We've got a bit more stability going forward to this season, and that's one thing we did not have in that second half of that season.
And they're fourth in fewest sacks.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, and that's again, and I will take until the season's over, I will hold my judgment. But for till now, like Joe Philbin is doing a good job. I will not give him full credit yet. I won't give him because I still have my pet peeves about him sometimes. But
yeah, of course.
He is making me eat my favorite saying, eating some humble pie, like Sam Williams has been doing this year.
Yeah. Yeah, which we will get to.
Yeah.
But we'll go back to the running backs, which is why I was doing that little experiment there, that asparagus. So what I was thinking, what I was going to say is that the Packers run defense. Now they play the 3-4, an odd front.
Yep.
So
that opens up that opens up the middle a lot more for us, though.
Yeah, ironically, the middle is where they're struggling because they're three guys and they've lost Rashawn Gary. He's gone to IR for the season. The guys in the middle. So now you're going to have Kingsley Ignagbare taking his position, who's a rookie. You've also got another one. Who's the other rookie there? Defensive lineman.
Couldn't tell you.
Wyatt. They've got him in there. So at the moment, the middle of that line is by Lorne.
Yep, Lauren's bad. Gone again.
Yeah. The wind's blowing his cable. So they've got issues at the moment, but yeah, their nose tackle is really struggling in being able to get off blocks. There we are. He's back.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see what's going to happen. Like from a 3-4 defense, you're there is always the risk of you're open up the gaps for like especially when because normally in a free front, it's basically your tackles and your center are basically in control, and that leaves one of the because normally the nose tackle is always going to get double teamed or double team block and moving upfield. And it leaves the other guard to move upfield to the linebacker, especially in a run play or pick up the blitz or whatever or not. So it'll be. It's the one thing I don't like about a 3-4. It's just I think it does leaves the gap something more for the run game. It's better for pass coverage, yeah. But that's the beauty of it. Do you want it and this is where Dan Quinn's defense being a hybrid defense, it switches up all the time.
These guys, they can't, and you think like the Cowboys at the moment is running the ball quite effectively. So I think this is a good game where they can attack the middle of that field. Mm-hmm. And if they do decide to go to pass, and say Jake Ferguson is back from his illness too, there's a great place to attack. So you run the ball, then you attack the middle, and that's where they're struggling with your tight ends. It's a perfect place.
Because the likely chance if you're trying to settle on the run, those linebackers are going to move right downfield. And it's going to leave that gap open for the tight end for the likes of Ferguson or Hendershot to go right down the middle. Absolutely.
And Jair Alexander, who plays cornerback for them, he's quite good. He's pretty effective.
Yeah.
So if you're on the outside, if you're trying to target the outside and it's not working, just attack the middle. And I think that's the way to do it, like you said.
Yeah, we could certainly do with Zeke because this is more his ideal game than the outside run with Pollard is likely the 3-4 actually helps because the linebackers can actually scrape to the ball.
Yes, that's right.
And they can come up. But if you're going up the middle, you have your two guards, you have a scoop block with double team, as Paul says, on the nose tackle, and then you get out to the second level and you take these middle linebackers, and then that leaves you an open field as well.
And we know though, Lorne, that our guards can create different contact points so they can get into the next level.
See, here's the thing, so obviously we're expecting to see Tyler Smith playing left tackle, right? That's the expectation.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised. And hear me out on this, right? Like for him being that type of aggressive player and the run blocking that he is, shifting back into set that we might see a bit of rotation of him put into guard for like certain plays and push to absolutely annihilate some linebackers out there, because that's one thing he's really good at is getting upfield and up to the secondary to make those additional blocks. We saw that in multiple occasions, but don't get me wrong, you'll still do that left tackle, but it depends on the play. But if you're running on a free front, like they're not half a shade there, heads up against you, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have a more difficult job to kind of determine if you're in that left tackle position to kind of determine, okay, to readjust yourself, because they can still have it's more of an advantage for those edge rushers in a way, like to either go inside or outside, because you're kind of playing second guessing here. Whereas if you're in the forefront, you're more lined out outside the edge, like you're more in a 5-tech position. So you're kind of like, you're more expecting to always go outside all the time. And if you're on the weak side, you're always kind of being on a contain or whatever. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that transpires. But I'm just saying, like, just kind of, you might see Smith kind of just push back inside and get like Peters on tackle. We don't know. Just saying.
Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah, it's a good place. And like the crazy bit is as well is that they may have lost their slot corner, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So there's something to keep an eye on. But I think Jair Alexander is probably gonna travel with CD, and although the Packers don't use him all that often, although they don't use him that often, Jair Alexander from the slot, he is quite good at it. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a mismatch going on, but quite a battle. So that's the one to watch because he can do it. But their safeties, man, I mean, they've given up, I think, between them, like 6 touchdowns on the year already.
Yeah. Just before we move on, Mike, I just want to give a shout out to everyone that's commented so far. So from Joe from Italy, Chris Guerrero, DJ Dog, who else do we have here? There was someone else that mentioned there was Benny mentioned there, and we've got a new viewer today, west side of Corpus Christi. So welcome.
I wonder where he lives. But yes, I do love Corpus. Corpus is lovely. But yeah, I mean, I think the way the Packers are going to try and do this is they're going to try and put the pressure on Dak. The good thing is Dak is good at playing under pressure, but they're just basically going to try and make him outthink it all. But the way I was thinking of it, the way I would do this is I just take what they're given and let the Packers die on their own sword. You know, let them lean on their own sword and do it that way. That's the way I would play them. Just be patient because they're not going to be patient on their side because they've got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Should we move to the defense for the fun side?
Oh, yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, let's go.
We do enjoy the defense. Yes. So the linebacker is back. Just so you know, he's being given the award of Defensive Player of the Half Season. We do love a water. Yes. So Micah Parsons has been given that award. He's taken it with great grace. I don't think it actually anything. I think it's just like a NBC or PFF sort of thing, and they're just like, it's half a season, give out some awards. There we go. Me and Paul have fond memories of watching the NFL award ceremony, though.
What?
The NFL award ceremony.
What one? Like
the last one.
I don't even recall watching it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. We were very hungover.
Oh. There we go.
Yeah. There's lots
of sorry, man. I'm pure lost with that one now.
It was hours of fun. But yes. So yeah, let's get back into talking about the Aarons. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones. So I mean, both are on the injury report, which is important to look at. But both can completely attack the Cowboys where they're weakest. But as I was saying, this is a game, and I'm doing the same on the offense. I don't know what you guys think. I'm going to let the Packers lean on their own sword and die that way. And basically, just don't try and be too complex. you're going to get into Aaron Rodgers' head. Trayvon Diggs is going to basically follow Alan Lazard, which is the only wide receiver Aaron Rodgers trusts. And we've seen it before, like against the Bills, that the Packers running game was winning that game. But Aaron Rodgers will not let the Packers win a game that way. He wants to play hero ball. And that's what I'm going to bank my chips on, that they're going to move from the run and Aaron Rodgers is going to want to win the game on his own. I don't know what you guys think.
I think you're potentially right. I mean, especially the way everything's going this year. He's, obviously the criticism has been levied at him, and he's going to take that and say, well, I'm going to beat the Cowboys off my own back, and then it'll be two fingers up at the media. If he hasn't got Aaron Jones, then they do. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are potentially, you could use them. You could get they're the equivalent of Zeke and Tony. Aaron Jones going out on the outside on these Packer toss sweeps that they're using. That's quite effective, but and that's obviously the weakness of our defense at the moment. We've got Jonathan Hankins brought in, who now has 2 weeks of acclimatization into our system. Should help shore up that interior run defense. And it's just a case of, they know that, Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs, they're not willing to come up and tackle as effectively as you would expect with a linebacker. So they're going to try and test the outside run. But yes, at some point, Aaron Rodgers is going to say, no, it's me.
Yeah.
And, and it's going to live or die by him calling the shots.
He will check it out. And it's ironic that you say about, the toss sweeps and Aaron Jones, because he is fast. He's a rapid running back. And the one place, because people keep saying about the run defense, the issue, if you look at the Cowboys' run defense, isn't the defensive line. It's when they go on sweeps and off tackle, because so basically you're putting the pressure on our cornerbacks to make the tackles. And for whatever reason, Anthony Brown and Trayvon Diggs struggle to make tackles on running backs.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why. And if you have a look, that's where the Cowboys are. But and you can see it, because look at what's happened in the past. That when we're in the middle of the field and they're making these plays and they end up getting first down and chunk plays on the ground, when they get into the red zone and it's back to the D-line, it stops. The leaking suddenly stops, because the D-line can stop the running game, because they give up a lot of yards, but they don't give up a lot of points from two running backs. So I think that the issue isn't the defensive line; it's the defensive backs making a play on the running back when they go on these sweeps and off tackle runs. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
But going back to the defensive line, Terrell Basham's back.
Mm-hmm. Just more depth, more things to worry about for Aaron Rodgers' sake.
Yeah. So I mean, we see Tristan Hill walk out the door, but then we see Terrell Basham wander in. So that's some good news. Because he is a quite effective guy. And I think this is a type of game where you could use a guy like Terrell Basham, for his size and speed, which is quite important. Malik Hooker is fit to play, which is good news. But let's talk about the pressure, because I think that's what needs that. Well, if Paul, you were mentioning about when they played the Giants in London. One thing we saw was pressure getting in his face. Good news is Micah Parsons gets a lot of pressure. He's 4th in the NFL. I think this is a game where you just need to say pressure.
Is he not technically tied 2nd? But in theory, it's 4th in theory. But it's technically
possibly.
I can't remember for sure, but I know but it's basically right up there, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's just your game plan is Parsons get in his face. It's got to be right.
Yeah, I
Don't
mean,
forget,
even if you make him the focus of the offensive line, so that they're scheming to do that, and then you bring all the other big bodies in, and you get the pressure from that. It'll be another game where if Parsons isn't directly influencing the play, then you're going to see Tank Lawrence come up and get 3 sacks. You're going to see Dorrance Armstrong get sacks. You're going to see Osa. You're going to see Neville Gallimore, who obviously will be grateful that he wasn't the one that was cut or traded. Be thankful that Tristan Hill was the one that was moved on from. And they'll get the pressure that way. And Basham's capable of coming in as well, and he can play the edge, and much like Lawrence set the edge for run games, the runs as well. So all of this is just, it's going to be a great rotation, I think, and we're just going to be able to create pressure at will. Now, especially against this Green Bay line, so far the Green Bay line have had multiple formations this season. I think they've only truly last week, I think, was their first string offensive line that they've managed to play, that everybody that they want, Bakhtiari, etc., they're all available to play. So this is one of the reasons why there is so much pressure being leaked by the Packers offensive line. Can they get it back on track this week? Who knows? But it's certainly a tough task for them, because they're coming up against a Dallas defense that is creating all of this pressure. So
yeah, and we was just talking. The wide receivers for Green Bay at the moment is bad. Like it's in a dire situation where Christian Watson is now going to be a starting wide receiver. I like him. Don't get me wrong.
I think it will be a good wide receiver in the future for sure.
In the future, yeah. But you think there's already no chemistry. There's already no trust with Aaron Rodgers. He's coming in to try and take a role.
There's a reason why you probably might see more Watson being practicing a bit more with Jordan Love is thinking for the future.
Yeah.
This is what I'm kind of saying. It's like
going back on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we might expect to see if Jordan Love does come out. Like, I don't think it might be this game what you're kind of saying, but after the bye week, possibly.
Yeah. It's something needs to change, because, like I say, Aaron Rodgers, there's just so many things that are wrong. The mechanics are wrong. He's making throws that he knows, because no, I'll stop there. The arm talent is still there. I think the arm talent is still there. He's just making bad decisions, and his timing is out. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of that going on, and that he's getting the pressure. Because bear in mind, he's coming up to 40 years of age, so it's going to all catch up on you in the end. And I think perhaps that's what we're seeing the age. But the Packers, because of the way that they've done this contract, they're stuck in it. I mean, you attested to it earlier, Lorne, that they can't budge. He's untouchable. I think, even if they cut him next year, they cut him, and it's like 60 million against dead cap. Like, you can't do that. Do you know what I mean? It's just way too much. You may as well just hang on to him.
Yeah, I mean, I if I was the Packers, I would have forced his hand last year and said, fine, you go off, jeopardy. There you go. That's you. And said it's time to move on. I mean, obviously you had Jordan Love with him for 1 year. Now is the time that you should be thinking about it. You can't signing him to this long-term deal that they did. I mean, it made no sense at all, other than you were keeping him happy. And I think it worked out for this year in terms of salary cap, because it actually brought his cap number down. But next year it's it's back up there and it's stupid, and you have to sort of renegotiate again. Yeah, I mean, it's just if you cut him next year, it's a 68 million dead money,
68. Wow.
or
Well,
you
can't.
68
You
million.
just can't, can you? You just why? You may as well just hang on to him for that. But nobody's going to trade because obviously you're trading that contract too. So like, what's the point? And especially at the age he's at, like, why? You just basically you're just waiting for him to say he's going to retire, and then you can exhale quite nicely. But okay, let's do this, guys. Everybody at home. Final score predictions. I'm going 27-13 to the Cowboys, just so you know. I'm saying that because I had to put that in. And my reasons why.
43-21 Cowboys.
Yes.
I'll go somewhere in between. I'll go 38-17.
See, now yours is actually quite sensible, Lorne. I like it. Why not have a sensible score for a change? Very rare that happens to us. All right, then, folks. Let's do this. The best part of all. Okie dokie. So the gap is closing, guys. The gap is closing fast. Do you see the new score?
All right.
Yeah,
before we do that, we're getting the scores coming in there from everybody else.
Yeah.
So Stevie Lads went 17-21 Cowboys. Joe's went Dallas 45, Green Bay 10, liking it. DG Dogs went 30-20. Good guys.
I like it. All right. So we got the new scores available.
Let me guess. Heckma's still 1-0.
He's gonna kill us. He's gonna kill us for that.
So the gap is closed.
Oh.
So yes, after Rich is obviously guests that have come on and done this. Heck was on a donut. Don't worry. That will change. That will change. So play along at home, guys. Basically, it's really simple. It's a game of higher or lower, over or under, whichever way you want to put it. I give you the score. You just tell me if it's going to be more or less. All right. So let's start with Dak Prescott, 18.6 fantasy points.
18.6. Higher.
I think
it's going to be at least 25 points if that was the case. At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's building. He's got better week on week. He's had a week off to look at things as well, and just sharpen up a little bit more with receivers, because you can bet, even though they've had time off, that he'll have been in the backyard with his receivers, and they'll have been running routes and everything. So, and thankfully these guys, from what I can see, there's not been any hijinks or any police reports while they've had these 6 days off. So, they've obviously decided to get down and realize that they're on a winner here. So let's go for it. So
everyone's all in higher. Yep,
I like it. All right, then let's go with, and we're going with Zeke, but this could be Tony Pollard too, depending on which way it goes. 11.6 fantasy points.
Higher.
Green Bay give a lot up to the ground.
I'm going higher.
Yep, higher. Yeah. Higher.
Like, the reason for that is because of the 3-4 defense. That's the reason why I'm saying it.
Mm-hmm. It's a good reason.
And I think you'll get a couple of TDs as well. So I mean, the TDs itself will be your 11. Yep.
Yeah. If it gets 2 TDs, that's 12 points already.
Yeah. And Green Bay's defense, not only is it bad against the run, it leaks averagely quite a lot of points. I think they average like 24 points a game. But yeah, that's pretty bad. All right, CD Lamb, 14.5 fantasy points. That's a trickier one.
I'm gonna say even on that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on the same boat. I'm on
Okay,
the
that's a
same boat.
point either way. That's a point either way on that one.
Yeah. So
Uh,
Joe's went even as well.
I like. I can see the reasons why. I can see it. It's a bit of a touchy one, that one. But Dalton Schultz, 9.3 fantasy points.
Lower. I'm going lower.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
No, I'm all for Hendershot and Ferguson to take over. I'm all
I
for
think the
that.
tight ends will score a touchdown in this game.
I'm telling you, I think Ferguson's going to be that guy now. I really do.
He's getting there.
I do as well. I mean, and you're saying it as well that they're bringing on these triple tight end sets as well, and
Mhm.
having them bunch out to the side. So there's only so many passes that can be thrown towards certain tight ends, and that the one thing that's been great about Dak over the years is that Dak will throw to whoever is open. He's not
Yeah.
necessarily got a favorite receiver. Obviously, we were saying that Schultz is a safety blanket, but
Yeah.
he will throw to Hendershot and Ferguson, and I think they're slowly putting it together that they are the up and comers, and they're taking away points from Schultz.
Yeah. And here is a interesting fact for you. The Cowboys have 3 tight end touchdowns since week 6, which ranks 3rd. And the Green Bay Packers in that time have given up 3 touchdowns to tight ends, which ranks last. And there you go. Little factoid for you on that one. Cowboys defense. And I'm going to come back to this as well and ask you guys what the thinking is here. Cowboys defense, 6.5 fantasy points.
Come on. That's an insult. That's an insult.
Yeah.
That's going up. I mean,
that's like it's going to be at least 10 points at least.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can see you've got Trayvon Diggs against Alan Lazard. I see that being a pick at some point. He's going to pick that off.
Yep.
But they go in 6.5 fantasy points. So basically this week in 8 games, they've scored less than 6 fantasy points twice. They've scored more than 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, and more than 20 twice.
And the 2 where they scored less than 6, were they the losses? Were they Tampa Bay and Philadelphia? Or?
Tampa was 1, and Philly was the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got scored on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So no, I think we're going to get sacks. We're going to get turnovers. That's going to take you over 6 points. And unless Aaron Rodgers has been playing possum all this season,
just for this one game.
Yeah, because for all McCarthy wants to prove that it was him that got them to the Super Bowl and he coached them.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is exactly the same as it's the equivalent of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick when the Buccaneers went back to the Patriots as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm with you there. All right, and let's go on the Packers side. Aaron Rodgers, 18.2 fantasy points, less than Dak.
Less than Dak? Wasn't Dak like 15 points or something?
18.6.
All right.
Rodgers is 18.2. Bear in mind, they are averaging 17 points per game on offense.
Yeah,
they scored 9 against the Lions, which was the 32nd ranked defense.
I'm going to say lower because the way I'm thinking about the score line and stuff like that, I'm going based on what I think the score line is going to be. And then obviously there was the mention about his right thumb, whatever it was. So
right thumb,
yeah. And like I said, his mental state right now, God knows how much he's been smoking that stuff right now.
He's checked out. He's checked out.
Yeah, so he's checked out. So You might as well do a fantasy store for Jordan Love at this rate.
It could be. All right. Well, Aaron Jones, who is got all the tools to crack this defense, 17.6 fantasy points. Yeah.
Lower.
I'm going to go lower with.
Yeah. Like he was on crutches. Did you say he was on crutches? Yeah. I come on now. Like,
so then that would, if he doesn't play, then we're saying that those points go to AJ Dillon.
It'll be AJ, but AJ,
and AJ Dillon is
like he will not have the same like have the same output.
Yeah,
so
he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's very much the Pollard to Aaron.
Yeah.
That way, but we're going.
Yeah, I'm going lower on that. Even if it is Dillon, and Dillon's in my fantasy squad, but he'll be sitting on the bench this weekend.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, in one of my fantasy groups, I have Alan Lazard, 12.3 fantasy points.
I'm going to say higher, just higher. I would say like if
on
you were
pure
to say,
target.
Yeah, like receptions and yardage and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he might have a touchdown, maybe, but I think it'll be the next guy. I think it's going to be the more threat, to be honest. But I think if you were to say 15 points, then I would have said even. So that's why I'm saying higher.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, just to be different, I'll go even on that. But I think Paul's right. It's going to be slightly higher than that, but is it 15 points or is it just 13 points or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, that would land you for a point score there, Lorne, if you did. Now you've gone even Stevens.
Yep.
Robert Tonyan, 7.3.
Higher. That's the guy I'm more concerned about is Tonyan.
He's not a bad little tight end.
He's not bad at all. Gotta give him his credit and due. But he's a red zone threat for sure. So if he's in the 20-yard, if Green Bay were within 20 yards, then you're expected to see Robert Tonyan to be there. So
and he never needs to come off the field either.
Yeah. So I'm saying higher. I think 7.3 does not justify his service to the team.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a bit like Schultz. He rose from obscurity. Nobody had heard of him. I think he was even their third string tight end at one point, and pressed into action purely because of injury.
Yeah.
And then there was a Monday night game or something like that where he absolutely exploded onto the scene, and he's been steady since. So, I mean, the only thing you could say is Jadron Kearse is back to being the tight end killer. But I think Lazard and Tonyan will be Aaron Rodgers' main threats.
Yeah, the only two. Yeah.
I'm saying even for Lazard, I'm going slightly higher for Tonyan.
All right then. And then 1 moment, I haven't put a score in for Lord. Let me just put it in there. There we go. And then the defense. And this is what I was going to come back to. The Packers defense is looking to score 6.6 fantasy points, which is more than the Cowboys defense.
I'm going to say even. Well, and they're not going to score more points than the Cowboys, that's for sure, in that question. But in terms of their fantasy thing, I think it's even.
Even.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going lower because I think I've said 38-17, so 38.
Yeah, so that's a big score.
Is a big score. And I don't. The one thing about this offense is we haven't been turning the ball over, so that's one less thing. As we've said, the offensive line isn't giving up a hell of a lot of sacks. And, they're without their best pass rusher with Rashawn Gary, so I don't see them suddenly racking up unless we have a complete brain fart because we've been on a bye week. I don't see this happening. So lower.
All righty, there we are. We are locked and loaded in. That is all of that for this week. Now, just so you know, we've got a string of special guests coming up all the way through to Christmas, which should be a lot of fun. Some interesting guests coming on the Thanksgiving special, but we'll talk about that next week. So everyone's in the loop. But that should be a bit of fun. Might try and even do a little bit of a giveaway. I don't know.
Ooh.
I was going to try and save the giveaway, but I'm getting all Thanksgiving-y. So so the giveaway's a turkey. So but no, we'll figure something out. We will get our sorted because it's always good. But Lorne, hit me with this.
Right. So if, like Paul, who posted today that it's only 3 weeks to his trip off to Dallas, if you're going across to Dallas for a game, obviously check out Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet, stadium tours, game tickets, tailgating, and much, much more. Get to meet former players like Drew Pearson, Jay Novacek. Get to meet current players like Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, and if you use the code UK Cowboys, then they'll treat you like absolute royalty. They treat you great anyway, but they'll just give you that extra little thing, and they'll give you
free stuff. Paul.
Yeah, guys. Also, be sure to go and check out our fellow content creators from DallasCowboys.com's Talking Cowboys, Hanging with the Boys, The Break, Mickey Shots, and much more. Also, go and check out SB Nation, where you can find likes of myself and Meg Murray doing the World's Team, among others. And also, you can check out Mark's articles in there as well. Also, go and check out likes of Big Game James, J Tuck there for Cowboys fans only, CFO Sports, Pick Six Sports with Nix, Cowboys fan, all the guys from Canada. Big shout out to those guys and guys. So be sure to go and check all these guys out. They do amazing stuff with content. So yeah.
So keep an eye out on things. Like we say, make sure to go to Blogging the Boys to see Paul's America's Team podcast, my articles, and also keep an eye on Lorne. He's doing some stuff with
World's Team. World's Team.
No, that's not how you say it. Okay, maybe it's how you say it. But yes, that's it, guys. So we will be back after the weekend.
Well, before you go, why? But we're trying to hook up for a beer then. Let's do it.
Why not? Beer, whiskey, Cowboys is all good. But yes, have a great weekend, guys. We will see you after the weekend. We'll have a post-game show on with Graham hosting. But let's enjoy it. It's a nice kickoff time too. So guys, take us out, please.
On you go, Lorne.
Right, well, go Cowboys. Let's pound Aaron Rodgers into the turf. And then the Packers will be saying, now that we've found love, what are we going to do? So
the only call the Dax says kill, but that's going to be on the Green Bay Packers because they're going to die.
Yeah.